There comes a time in every life where emotions no longer elevate us, they start to enslave us, where love turns into manipulation, where kindness turns into weakness, and where sensitivity becomes self-sabotage. This speech is for that moment. This is your reminder to wake up from the trance of emotional foolishness and return to the throne of your inner wisdom. Let's begin. That doesn't mean it is always true. Emotions are powerful waves, but they come and go like the weather. If you let every emotional storm dictate your choices, you'll end up building a life on unstable ground. One moment of anger, one wave of sadness, one rush of fear, it can all lead to decisions that bring years of regret. The real power lies in witnessing your emotions, not becoming enslaved by them. You are allowed to feel, but you must also learn to observe. This is not about being cold or distant, this is about clarity, about mastering your inner space so life doesn't keep pulling you in every direction. Too often, love becomes an excuse to lose ourselves. We think that to love someone means we must give up our voice, our boundaries, our peace. But love without self-respect is not love. It is emotional slavery. If being kind means being treated like a doormat, that is not kindness, it is fear wearing a smiling mask. There is no glory in giving so much of yourself that nothing remains. Stop shrinking to fit into places where your light is not respected. The world doesn't need more emotional martyrs, it needs people who know how to love others without forgetting themselves. Not everyone deserves your emotional investment. Just because someone is close to you doesn't mean they have earned the right to influence your peace. You cannot keep bleeding emotionally for people who would never do the same for you. You have to stop over-explaining, over-giving and over-sacrificing for people who underappreciate. Your time and energy are sacred. Treat them that way. You need to build stronger boundaries, not higher walls, but boundaries that protect your heart and soul from becoming dumping grounds for other people's chaos. Emotion without awareness is a recipe for destruction. When you react instead of respond, you give your power away. You say things in anger that can't be unsaid. You make decisions in pain that create more pain. Pause, breathe. Let your awareness rise above your emotion. You are not the anger, you are not the sadness, you are not the guilt. You are the one witnessing it. And when you learn to create that space between feeling and reacting, your whole life begins to change. This is where real transformation begins, not in denying emotion, but in mastering your relationship with it. Empathy is beautiful, but unchecked empathy becomes poison. You start to carry pain that was never yours. You begin to break under the weight of problems that don't belong to you. In trying to be everything for everyone, you lose yourself. Be kind, yes, but don't let your kindness kill you. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to walk away without feeling cruel. You're not obligated to sacrifice your mental health for the comfort of others. You cannot heal the world if you're constantly bleeding inside. So many people will try to manipulate you through guilt. They will make you question your worth, your decisions, your path. They'll say, if you cared, you'd do this. But that is not love. It is control dressed up as emotion. You are not here to carry the emotional weight of people who refuse to walk on their own. Your life is your responsibility, and guilt is not your compass. You must learn to walk forward with strength, even if it means disappointing people who only loved the version of you they could control. You were not born to be an emotional prisoner. You are not here to be torn apart every time someone disapproves of you. You are here to rise, to awaken, to reclaim your inner authority. Mastery of your emotions is not about becoming numb. It's about standing tall in the middle of the storm and saying, I will not break. Let your heart feel, yes, but let your soul lead. You were not made to chase what breaks you. You were made to protect your peace, follow your purpose and live in freedom. The moment you stop being an emotional fool is the moment your real life begins. If your love demands that you forget yourself, that is not love. It is a quiet kind of self-abandonment. So many people lose themselves in the name of love, slowly dimming their light just to keep someone else comfortable. They begin to shrink, to silence their truth, to bury their needs, believing that sacrifice is the ultimate proof of affection. But when love costs you your identity, it becomes emotionally slavery. You were never meant to dissolve in another person. You were meant to stand beside them, whole and awake, not broken and dependent. Love should not require you to apologize for being who you are. If you constantly feel the need to bend, twist or shrink just to be accepted, that is not a relationship. It's a performance. You don't need to prove your worth by always being available, agreeable or small. Real love celebrates your strength, your independence, your truth. It does not punish you for drawing boundaries or for saying no. When someone asks you to sacrifice your self-respect for the sake of connection, they are not asking for love, they are asking for control. The illusion many fall into is that giving more will eventually earn them peace, validation or security, but no amount of emotional giving can fix someone who doesn't value you. You can pour your soul into a bottomless cup and still be told it's not enough. The truth is, people who truly love you will never demand that you betray yourself just to keep them close. They will never weaponize your compassion or make you feel guilty for honoring your own voice. The more you forget yourself in the name of love, the more you lose the very essence that makes you worthy of love to begin with. You can love deeply and still have boundaries. You can be kind without becoming someone's emotional punching bag. There is a difference between love and self-erasure, between compassion and codependence. The world has glorified the idea of sacrificing everything for love. But this narrative only leads to resentment, emptiness and burnout. True love begins within when you honor your own soul, when you recognize your own needs as sacred, when you no longer tolerate relationships that require you to disappear. Many people confuse self-respect with arrogance. They will call you selfish when you stop overextending. They will call you cold when you stop rescuing. But setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel, it makes you conscious. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's healing. You should walk yourself, walk with integrity, with a healing. You are allowed to outgrow the people who only loved your silence. You are allowed to walk away from what drains you, even if it once made you feel needed. Choosing peace over chaos is not weakness, it is wisdom born from pain. The deepest form of love you can offer the world begins with how you love yourself. When you respect your time, your energy, your truth, you naturally attract relationships that do the same. You no longer chase approval or beg to be seen. You become magnetic, whole and free. And from that wholeness, you can love others without fear, without control, without sacrificing your spirit. This is the kind of love that heals rather than harms, that lifts rather than lowers, that liberates rather than binds. Stop giving your soul away in exchange for breadcrumbs. Stop thinking that being less of yourself will make you more lovable. You were not created to live in someone else's shadow. You were made to shine, to speak, to live as the full expression of who you are. Real love will never ask you to hide. Real love will find you when you stop hiding from yourself. The moment you choose yourself fully and without apology, that is the moment love truly begins. You allow too many people access to your emotional world, people who haven't earned the right to be there. You keep opening the door to hearts that don't understand yours, to minds that can't grasp your sensitivity, to energies that disrupt your peace. Not everyone who shows up in your life deserves a front row seat to your soul. Some only come to take, to confuse, to drain, yet you keep giving them the best of you, while they offer you the bare minimum in return. This isn't generosity, it's emotional self-neglect. When someone repeatedly shows you that they cannot meet you with the same respect, love or presence that you offer, believe them. Stop writing new chapters with people who keep repeating the same old damage. Your time, your space, your peace, they are sacred. But when you let just anyone into your heart, without discernment, you start to bleed emotionally for those who wouldn't even notice if you were hurting. And the sad part is, you begin to think this is normal, that suffering quietly for others is just the way it has to be. You don't need to explain your boundaries to people who only show up to test them. You don't owe constant access to those who make your spirit feel heavy. Let go of the idea that saying no is unkind. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from what is hurting you, even if it once made you feel wanted. People who only show up when it benefits them are not your people. You need to stop renting space in your soul to those who don't value the beauty of your being. You've been conditioned to believe that being available to everyone is a virtue, that your worth is tied to how much you give, how much you tolerate, how often you say yes. But all that does is teach others that your love has no limits, that your energy is endless, that your kindness comes at no cost. And soon you become a reservoir for their emotional baggage, a place where their wounds spill freely while yours go ignored. This is not love, this is emotional exploitation. There is a quiet power in choosing who gets close to you. You do not have to entertain every invitation, answer every message, or maintain every bond. Some connections expire, some people were lessons, not lifelong companions. And the more you cling to what drains you, the further you drift from what empowers you. Don't let guilt chain you to relationships that have long since stopped feeding your soul. Distance is not always a punishment. Sometimes it's a sacred boundary that saves your spirit. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It's survival, it's wisdom. It's knowing that you cannot carry everyone, especially those who would never carry you. You are allowed to be kind and unavailable. You are allowed to love from afar. You are allowed to say, not everyone gets to access me. The more you honor your energy, the more you align with people who respect it. And when you finally start treating your time and heart as sacred, you'll notice how quickly those who only came to take will disappear. You were not created to be a sponge for other people's chaos. And if you create all the sponges you can fit into, you were not created to be a sponge of other people's chaos. You were not born to break yourself so others can remain whole. You are allowed to choose peace over pressure, stillness over noise, solitude over performance. The people meant for you will never require you to lose yourself. They will never demand that you abandon your needs to meet theirs. So stop bleeding for those who wouldn't offer you a band-aid. Stop giving front row seats to those who don't even clap for you. You are worth more than that. And it's time you started living like it. Emotions are powerful forces. They can move us toward greatness or pull us into deep regret. When you are ruled by your emotions without the presence of awareness, you become a puppet of your moods. One minute you're calm, the next you're breaking everything in your path. Relationships, peace, opportunities. It's not because you're a bad person, it's because your awareness stepped aside and your emotions took the driver's seat. And when that happens, you stop seeing clearly. You react, not respond. You lash out, not speak. You choose impulsively, not wisely. How many times have you said something in anger that you wish you could take back? How many decisions have you made in fear, only to realize later that it was never the right time, never the right choice? Emotions in their raw, unchecked state often create chaos. They don't ask for permission, they take control. And once they've done their damage, you're left cleaning up the pieces of your trust, your peace, your self-commune. And yet, we continue to let them run wild, believing that to feel deeply means to act quickly. But that's not depth, That's emotional recklessness disguised as authenticity. Stillness is your weapon. Not silence born of suppression, but stillness born of wisdom. The ability to pause before reacting is the difference between creating peace and creating pain. In that small space between stimulus and response lies your freedom. When someone provokes you, pause. When life frustrates you, breathe. When pain surfaces, observe it. Don't be in a hurry to fix everything in the heat of emotion. Sometimes the most powerful act is to wait until the storm inside you settles before you speak, before you decide, before you act. This is not about becoming emotionless, it's about becoming emotionally intelligent. When awareness is present, emotions don't disappear, they transform. Anger becomes clarity, sadness becomes compassion, fear becomes alertness. You start being consumed by what you feel and start using what you feel to guide you, not destroy you. Emotion without awareness is like fire without control. It burns everything in sight. But when you bring presence into the picture, that same fire becomes light, warmth and fuel for something greater. People often think strength means reacting quickly, showing dominance or speaking loudly. But true strength lies in restraint. It lies in being able to sit with your discomfort and not let it consume the moment. It's choosing to remain calm in chaos, choosing to stay centered when everything around you is pulling you apart. That's not weakness, that's power. And the people who master this don't live free of emotion, they live above their emotions. They rise higher than their triggers, not because they don't feel, but because they know when to act and when to hold. There will always be moments that stir something deep inside you. There will always be moments that stir something deep inside you. A betrayal, a loss, a confrontation, an unexpected challenge. And in those moments, your old patterns will try to take over. You'll feel the urge to fight, to defend, to escape. But if you can pause just for a few breaths, you will meet yourself in a way you never have before. You will discover that behind the emotion there is a deeper intelligence, a voice that doesn't shout but whispers, a knowing that doesn't panic but trusts. And in that place, you are no longer a slave to what you feel, you are the master of it. When you stop reacting blindly to your emotions, your life begins to stabilize. The chaos quiets, the regrets lessen, the relationships improve. You no longer become someone who hurts others while hurting. You become someone who holds space for their pain, understands it, but doesn't let it rule them. This is emotional maturity, this is presence. And the moment you begin to live from this space, you step into your true strength. Not as someone who is hardened, but as someone who is deeply awake. Caring for others is one of the most beautiful qualities a human being can possess. It speaks of a heart that feels deeply, a soul that wants to ease suffering wherever it sees it. But sometimes, the very heart that tries to heal others forgets its own wounds. You become so consumed with making sure everyone else is okay that you overlook the quiet cry within yourself. In your race to hold others, you forget that your arms are also tired. You give so much of yourself that eventually there is nothing left to give, not even to yourself. Empathy without boundaries is not compassion, it is emotional erosion. When you absorb everyone's pain as your own, you slowly dissolve. You take on burdens that were never yours to carry, guilt that was never yours to feel, and responsibilities that were never yours to own. You become the emotional shelter for people who refuse to build their own inner strength. And while they feel better resting under your roof, your foundation begins to crack. You weren't meant to carry the entire weight of someone else's healing. There is a silent kind of suffering that happens when you are the one everyone leans on. No one notices the wear and tear on your soul because you don't show it. You smile through exhaustion, you say yes through pain, You offer presence even when you feel like disappearing. I have done everything you asked me to do, everything you've asked my friends and people come to expect it from you, to rely on your constant availability, to take without checking if you're okay. Slowly you begin to feel invisible, not because you aren't needed, but because your own needs have been buried beneath everyone else's. Being kind does not mean being a sponge for the world's pain. It doesn't mean losing yourself in someone else's darkness. You are allowed to care deeply and still step back. You are allowed to love someone and still protect your peace. Empathy is not supposed to cost you your mental health. It's not supposed to leave you empty. When it begins to do so, it's a sign not that you are unloving, but that you are unbalanced. It is a call to return to yourself, to refill what has been poured out too freely for too long. Sometimes walking away is the kindest thing you can do for them and for you. Because when you're depleted, your love becomes strained, your care becomes heavy, your compassion turns into resentment. You were not meant to save people, you were meant to love them from a place of wholeness, not sacrifice. It is not your job to fix others, it is your responsibility to remain whole so that your presence can inspire healing, not be used as a crutch for others to avoid their own growth. You don't have to prove your love by carrying others. Your love can be in the way you listen, the way you speak truth, the way you model peace in your own life. Real empathy understands that sometimes people need to walk through their fire alone. Real love honors space as much as it does support. And when you begin to love in this way, you don't lose yourself, you expand. You become a source of strength, not by absorbing pain, but by radiating clarity and calm. Protect your peace with the same devotion you give to others. Let your kindness begin with you. Let your empathy be intelligent, not blind. And above all, remember this: your ability to care for others should never cost you your soul. If helping others begins to hurt you, it is no longer help, it is harm in disguise. You are not here to drown for anyone, you are here to rise, and in your rising, show others that they can rise too. The true guilt is one of the most silent and dangerous weapons people use to control those with soft hearts. It doesn't scream, it doesn't hit, it doesn't shout, yet it wraps around your decisions like a chain. When someone says, if you loved me, you would do this, they're not appealing to your love, they are using your emotional vulnerability as leverage. And because your heart is genuine, you fall into the trap of over-giving, over-apologizing, overextending. You begin to believe that saying no is cruel, that setting a boundary is selfish, that protecting your peace is abandonment. But it isn't. It's survival. Some people thrive on your guilt because it gives them power. The moment you question yourself, the moment you feel like a bad person for honoring your own limits, they've won. They don't need to yell or force, they simply let guilt do the job. And soon, you're dancing to the rhythm of someone else's expectations, someone else's needs, while yours are left in silence. They call it love. They say it's care. But real love doesn't demand suffering. Real care doesn't pressure you to betray yourself. What you're experiencing is not connection, it's emotional control disguised as closeness. The more you allow guilt to guide your choices, you start to do things not because they feel right, but because you're afraid of disappointing someone. You stay in places that drain you, you agree to things that exhaust you. You say yes when everything in you is screaming no. And slowly you lose the ability to tell what you truly want versus what others want from you. That internal conflict is not your weakness, it's the result of living under the weight of guilt that was never yours to carry. And that was miserable for no one but myself. I was miserable because it was never yours to carry. You are not responsible for everyone's happiness. You are not here to fulfill every unspoken expectation. You are not a tool for others to use whenever their needs arise. Yes, relationships require effort. Yes, love requires giving, but not at the cost of your dignity, not at the expense of your mental and emotional well-being. You were not put on this earth to be a permanent fixer of broken people who refuse to fix themselves. Your life is not a sacrifice altar where your needs are burned just to keep others comfortable. It takes strength to walk away from guilt-driven dynamics. It takes clarity to recognize manipulation, especially when it's coming from someone you care about. But the truth is, if someone truly loved you, they wouldn't want you to live in discomfort just to make them feel secure. They would honor your boundaries, not guilt-trip you into breaking them. They would respect your choices, not punish you emotionally for making them. They would celebrate your growth, not fear it. Love is not a burden, love is not fear. Love does not suffocate you in the name of loyalty. Begin to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Is it out of love or out of guilt? Is it a true desire or a fear of disapproval? The moment you start choosing based on alignment rather than guilt is the moment you begin to reclaim your power. You'll lose some people, yes, but you'll find your self-respect. You'll upset a few expectations, yes, but you'll finally live a life that belongs to you, not one shaped by manipulation and emotional debt. The price of peace is often the discomfort of disappointing those who benefited from your silence. You were not born to live under emotional pressure. You were not designed to be a people pleaser at the cost of your own joy. Let guilt pass through you, but never let it settle inside you. Listen to your heart, but lead with wisdom. The people who truly love you will never need to guilt you into caring. They will never reduce your worth to how much you sacrifice. You deserve to be in spaces where you are free to choose, not pressured to comply. Set yourself free. Guilt is not your guide, truth is. Pain has a way of arriving uninvited. It comes without warning, settling into the corners of your life, often without explanation. At first it shakes everything. You feel lost, broken, maybe even angry at the world, at life or at yourself. The mind keeps asking why this happened, why it hurts so much. And in the confusion, you start to build a story around that pain, why they hurt so much. And in the confusion, you start to build a story around that pain. Slowly, it becomes a part of your identity, not just something that happened, but something you start to believe you are. But pain was never meant to become your name. Too many people live their lives stuck in the memory of a wound. They replay the betrayal, they relive the loss, they hold on to the insult, the failure, the heartbreak, as if letting go would erase the meaning. But pain does not lose its value when it is released. In fact, it completes its purpose when you allow it to pass through you, not live within you. The wound was meant to open you, not to own you. Yet we keep dragging the same old stories into new chapters, wondering why nothing ever feels new. Pain is not here to destroy you, it is here to wake you up, to pull you out of illusions, attachments, false identities. It strips you bare so that something truer can rise. But that rising only happens when you stop resisting, when you stop asking why it happened and start asking what it came to teach. Pain becomes wisdom when you listen. It becomes poison when you avoid, deny, or cling to it out of fear. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are only lost when you let those feelings define who you are forever. There is a difference between healing and holding on. Healing is brave. It means facing the darkness, sitting with the discomfort, and allowing yourself to move forward without pretending it never hurt. Holding on, however, is living in that wound like it's your permanent home. You wear it like a badge, speak from it like a script, and make decisions based on its fear. That's not growth, that's being stuck. You deserve more than a life built around what broke you. You deserve a life shaped by what you've become through the breaking. Some people fear letting go of pain because they think it means forgetting. They think if they stop hurting, the experience will lose its importance. But that's not how memory works. That's not how truth works. You can remember what happened without staying trapped in it. You can honor the lesson without replaying the suffering. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about yourself to stop bleeding from a wound that's no longer open. The world doesn't need more people living in pain. It needs people who have walked through it and returned wiser, softer, stronger. You can be that person. Not a prisoner of your past, but a living example of what healing truly looks like. You were not meant to spend your life worshipping your wounds. You were meant to rise from them, to carry the lessons, not the weight, to speak of pain as something you passed through,